Alhamdulillahi wassalatu wassalamu ala nabiyyillah. So this is the continuation of a tour of my library, and these are the books of Imam, of the Shāfiʿī Madhhab. And so I kind of put them in order of from the top over, chronological order as much as I could, and then coming down in chronological order in the ways of the madhab, and then coming down into the shuruh of Minhāj al-Ṭālibīn by Imam al-Nawawi, and then after that some of the other books that are essential for someone studying this. So at the beginning, of course, Kitab and also like Risala is inside of that, Kitab al-Risala by Imam al-Shāfi'ī radiallahu anhu. And then also some of the books that are connected to him personally. So these are, this is a new purchase of mine that I got at the book fair recently, which is Qawaid al-Fahm al-Hadith and Imam al-Shāfi'ī. So he goes through some of the ways that Imam al-Shāfi'ī understood a hadith and whatnot, which is a very interesting bahth. And also a madkhal to the madhab of Imam al-Shāfi'ī, which is a great book to get to know who Imam al-Shāfi'ī is and also the basics of the madhab. Also some other books similar to getting to know the madhab. Fuad al-Madaniyya is also important for someone who's a student of the Shāfi'ī Madhhab. And also a madkhal ila Uṣūl al-Imām al-Shāfi'ī. This is a very interesting book by al-Murtada. And so Sheikh Dr. Murtada al-Daghestani. And so this is a very interesting book where he'll take out the usul principles of Imam al-Shāfi'ī and he'll put it to test with the actual issues that come up in fiqh from the usul. And also here's some other books. Here's also another book of that's connected with Imam al-Shāfi'ī and also al-Muzanī when he talks about these works. And also this is an interesting book of the Risal wal-Masāil al-Aqidiyya al-Mansūba in Imam al-Shāfi'ī. So this book, it brings together the different Aqidah issues or things that are related or that are said to be from Imam al-Shāfi'ī, whether it's authentic or not authentic when it comes to Aqidah issues. And this is put together in a bahth here, which is interesting. Also Ahkam al-Qur'an, which is tafsir from Imam al-Shāfi'ī of a lot of the ayat al-Ahkam, which is from, it's not the same as the one by Imam al-Bayhaqi. He has his own version of this, but this is different. And then there's also Diwan al-Shāfi'ī, which is also great for someone if they want to learn Arabic and whatnot. Just reading what Imam al-Shāfi'ī, like some of his shi'r, is a great way to strengthen their understanding of the Arabic language, and also they will develop more of a love for Imam al-Shāfi'ī. And when you see like the wisdom that he has, and this is also another compilation of his shi'r as well. So I went through that one here. That's by Daud, that's put together here, and I haven't gone through this one yet, but I'm sure there's going to be things that are new in each one of them in a way of understanding. So then there's also Mukhtaṣar al-Muzanī. This is like the major book at the beginning, which is the Mukhtaṣar al-Muzanī, is the Mukhtaṣar of Kitab al-Umm. So he basically, Imam al-Muzanī, he did ikhtisar of al-Umm and made it into like this. You see this small version here. And then this also was the go-to book for a while. And of the major like shuruh for that is Ta'liqat al-Kubra by Muhibb al-Tabari. And so al-Qadi Abu Tayyib Abu Tayyib al-Tabari al-Shafi'i. So, and this is not Ibn Jarir al-Tabari, this is a different Tabari. But this is a very expansive sharh of al-Muzanī, and it's like the high level of fiqh al-khilaf. So even the way that it's written, it definitely takes a specialist for them to benefit from it, like to the best. And there's a lot of like debating between the different madahib and whatnot in that. And that's a big book. And then also coming in from here, also there are the books. This is the book at-Tanbīh. This is by Imam al-Shirāzi. And then also from the other side, we also have Imam al-Ghazālī. He has al-Wasīṭ. He also has another book that's just bigger than this, which is called al-Basīṭ. And al-Basīṭ is bigger than this. And then, so this is Wasīṭ, which is the middle. And then he has the Mukhtaṣar that he made of al-Wasīṭ, which al-Wasīṭ is of the basis of like the way that he forms fiqh, like he puts it into its chapters is amazing. And so then he basically made that into al-Wajīz. And so al-Wajīz also has fiqh al-Muqārn in it, and it's very interesting. This is the only like somewhat decent tabā that I could find for it. I don't think there is a good tabā for al-Wajīz currently, but all of this is very small. But also you'll see when he talks about things, he'll have like a hat, like he'll talk about the Hanafiyya and whatnot. So he has like different rumuz for which madhab he's talking about or refuting in it, which is very small. And this is the asl of that book, is al-Wasīṭ. And this is by Imām al-Ghazālī. And he has a very interesting way of putting together masail and making sure that they all fit together in a good way. Also, there's al-Bayan, which is a sharh of, the sharh of al-Muhadhdhab by Imām al-Shirāzi. And al-Bayan is probably it's one of the go-tos when it comes to talking about the differences of like fiqh al-Muqārn in the Shāfiʿī Madhhab. When you talk about the different madhahib and whatnot, and this is by Imām al-Imrāni, when also he is Salafi al-i'tiqād. And also we have al-Muharrar here, which is the basis for Minhāj al-Talibīn. This is the basis book for that. This is by Imām al-Rāfi'i. And then, so he has, that's al-Muharrar. There's also there's probably better tabā'at that came out recently from it. And then, so that's the basis of that. And then we also come over here, Imām al-Rāfi'i, he did sharh of al-Wajīz. So this is the sharh al-Kabir. I don't have a sharh al-Saghir, but that just recently came out in Dar al-Minhāj. But this is a sharh al-Kabir, or al-ʿAzīz. And this is also a great book, which is the sharh of this, and it's a go-to, which Imām al-Nawawi afterwards made Rawḍat al-Ṭālibīn as the condensed version of al-ʿAzīz with tarjihat from himself and some additions from himself. And this is of the books that is important for someone when they want to know the different views that are inside the Shāfiʿī Madhhab. Of course, al-ʿAzīz has the different views, not all of them, but many of them. But here, this will also have the majority of the views within the Shāfiʿī Madhhab, alongside of which ones are rajih, which ones are not. But it doesn't necessarily have like it's Mukhtaṣar. Yes, it's like 8 majallad, but it's Mukhtaṣar, and that it's not going into all the details of the evidences in that. Now we also have the Mukhtaṣar of Rawḍat al-Ṭālibīn, is Rawḍat al-Ṭālib. And this Rawḍat al-Ṭālib also has a very important, I don't have Rawḍat al-Ṭālib as the matan by itself, but I have the sharh, which is the go-to sharh by Shaykh al-Zakariya al-Ansari. And this is Asnà al-Muṭṭālib, sharh Rawḍat al-Ṭālib. And so I got this particular sharh here, and I don't think there's a good print. There's like DKI out there, and DKI hate them because all they care about is money, and they don't care about doing good job for the most part. So who is this? This is Dar al-Taqwa? Yeah, I think it's Dar al-Taqwa, and it's like this Masri Egyptian publisher. So their publishing is not necessarily the best, but it works out. It's okay, and I'd rather get this than on DKI. And it has it's basically the same thing with the same ta'liqat of al-Ramli at the bottom. So this is Asnà al-Muṭṭālib. I don't know if anyone's going to take more care for this. There's also another taba out there, which it's the same taba as, it's like the Anwar al-Azhar. They also have another taba which is more majallad than that, but I don't necessarily like, it's much more expensive, a lot more paper. It's not really going to do me anything else very major. This is Hashiyat al-Bayjuri. This is the same publisher. Just to give you an idea of how they look, this is kind of how it looks in there. I wasn't necessarily wowed by their other version of Asnà al-Muṭṭālib, so I diverged. But so that's Asnà al-Muṭṭālib, which is a very major work. Sometimes some of the Shafi'i scholars, they said the person is not Shafi'i until he has studied this. I haven't studied it yet, so I guess according to their words, I am not a Shafi'i. But of course, like this is at a time when this is the major book, but it goes into the evidences here. It actually goes into the evidences as opposed to Rawḍat al-Ṭālibīn. And Rawḍat al-Ṭālibīn doesn't go into the evidences, but this goes into the evidences and talks about it. but it is Mukhtaṣar. It's a sharh of the Mukhtaṣar, Rawḍat al-Ṭālibīn, so it's not necessarily going into every single view in detail. Which of course, if it was to go in every single view in detail, you already have a big book like this, and you have other big books. So, there's only so much you can do. And then going into some of the works of Imam al-Nawawi, this is the for his works here. So you have Majmu'a. I don't know of a good publication of Majmu'a, but this is the one that I have. Tawfiqiyya, Maktab al-Tawfiqiyya. They are like they're merchants. This is kind of the way it looks inside. So you see kind of how their print is. Of course, the papers are not necessarily the best, and the binding is not necessarily the best. You see that? It's not the best, but there's nothing really good right now for al-Majmu'a. For Majmu'a and the Sharh al-Muhadhdhab lil-Imam al-Nawawi. So there's nothing much better than this. This is about as good as it gets. Also, here's the Muqaddimah, which is printed by itself, Dar al-Fath or Arwaqa. And so they have their own, they just printed out the Muqaddimah with good tahqiq, and this is just the Muqaddimah, which would be like in this first one, which is important. And also, this is a Tadhīm, Tahdhīb al-Asmā wal-Lughat by Imam al-Nawawi. This book, it wouldn't be finished. According to some of the people, they say it's not a finished book by Imam al-Nawawi because there's still a lot of blank pieces in it, and he didn't necessarily do what he said that he would do for all the people that he was going to talk about. He says he was going to say such and such, such and such about each person, and there's a lot of places where some of the original manuscripts weren't filled in. It was still blank in that place, and he didn't talk about the things that he said he was going to talk about. So, but this is what we have from it, and it's some people said it's completed, and some people said he didn't necessarily get to complete it. Allahu ta'ala alam. And of course, Tabyin fi adab hamalat al-Quran. It's also a very good Shafi'i book when it talks about the adab of someone reading the Quran and dealing with it and how they would do khatam and whatnot. Very good book. Also adhkar. Very major book for someone to learn about the benefits of adhkar and whatnot. Also Kitab al-Tahqiq fil Fiqh. This is of the later of his books. I believe it's not finished, but this is one of the books that he was working on. And also he didn't finish Majmu'a, but rather when he got to this part here, I believe it was in Bab al-Riba, then Subki took over, and they did a couple, and then after they passed away and they didn't finish the Sharh, it's not the same. Like his Sharh is not the same as the Sharh of Imam al-Nawawi. If he would have finished, it would have been the biggest, or like the best book in Fiqh al-Muqarran, as many of the scholars said. Because the way he talks about the issues and brings up all the different aqwal and whatnot, it's something else. And then also al-Muṭṭālib, he finished off the rest of the Sharh, but it's not necessarily something people look into afterwards. So this is of the books of Imam al-Nawawi, and as well of his major books is Minhāj al-Talibīn, Umdat al-Muftin. And so of this, there's a whole bunch of shuruh for that. This is Najm al-Wahhaj of the shuruh Darimi. Damiri, afwan, I'm a little bit dyslexic. And also this is a new sharh that is by al-Husni, Taqiyuddin al-Husni, and this is for Kifayat al-Muhtāj fi Hal al-Minhāj. It's also a beautiful sharh. But you will find a lot of these shuruh are very similar to the other ones. So if you read one sharh, it's like you've read most of them except with just little additions here and there. This is how this one looks. This one I didn't necessarily give me a ton of ta'liqat, but of course like the nas is what is the important part here. And so then also of the other books of Tuhfat al-Muhtāj, Sharh al-Minhāj, this is of the best tabā for it, and it helps someone actually understand this book, which is kind of thick, and there's a lot of dama'ir that people wouldn't understand unless we had something take it apart. For instance, so in this book, sometimes you'll have certain things that you won't necessarily understand. And so he'll explain some of the things in the Hawamish here, and some of the ibarat that he brings up are not very clear. So he will explain some of the things that are necessary for someone to actually understand the book properly, which of course some people have a lot of problems trying to understand the book, because if you have a bunch of like pronouns that go back to things, or like you have pronouns that go back to things that could be this or it could be that, you need to have someone who points to the right thing that it is. And also, so this is of Minhāj, al-Ṭālibīn. Also al-Kanz al-Rāghibīn. I'm studying this for Kulliyah. And so I took these ones are out because they're being studied by al-Muḥallī, and also Umdat al-Muḥtāj, Sharh Minhāj. This particular book by Ibn al-Mulaqan, one of the people who that brought this book out, they were missing one piece of the book, so they took another book and filled in the missing piece with it. And like one of these is actually not from the same book, but it's from the same author, and they filled in the missing piece with it, which is a little strange, but that's what they decided to do. Some people had things to say about that. This is also for Zubad, so some of the shuruh for Zubad. Also this is the Hashia, al-Qayyubi, al-Umayra, for Muḥallī, which I'll go to this one. Sometimes I have a problem with understanding Muḥallī, or I want to understand what he's talking about. I'll go to this particular Hashia. It's well known. This is Dar al-Hadith. Not necessarily the best, but it's good enough. The Hashia, I don't really care too much about like going into like the best quality for the Hawashi, because the important thing is that I understand the Nas, and then if I want like the Hashia, I can look at it and I get the understanding. It's not gonna create a huge difference for me, but I kind of use it as a support tool. All right, and then there's Minhāj al-Ṭālibīn, Sharh wa Adillah, and this is nice, by Dr. Mustafa al-Bagha, al-Bugha. And so he has this, just basically, it's not necessarily a big sharh, but it gives all of the basic understandings of Minhāj al-Ṭālibīn. Where's the dalil? This is the opposite. This doesn't give any of the dalil, but it gives all of the understanding of the wording of Minhāj al-Ṭālibīn, al-Siraj al-Wahhaj. And this could actually be in like 2 majallad or 3. And then I think there's a tahqiq out there that is in like 2 or 3. Then we also have the next type of things from Shaykh Zakaria al-Ansari. So he did a sharh of the Tankīḥ al-Lubāb, I think is the name of it. And so then he has Tankīḥ al-Lubāb, and he also has then he has Tahrir Tankīḥ al-Lubāb. And so this is what he did. Basically, he made a ikhtisar of it, and then he made a sharh on it. He also has a sharh on the original Tankīḥ al-Lubāb by al-Iraqi, and then he has his own Mukhtaṣar of it, and then he has his Tuhfatul al-Tullāb, which is, it's similar to like something, maybe someone could start with this book. Like someone could possibly start with this book, but his wording is a little bit harder for somebody. They need a teacher to go through it. And then there's also a nadam for Tahrir Tankīḥ al-Lubāb. This is the nadam of it, and then this is the sharh of it by al-Imām al-Sharqāwī. al-Sharqāwī in that. Not quite muʿāṣir, but it's close to it. Like it's of the later scholars. And there's Fath al-Mu'īn, which is well known within a lot of the Malaysians and whatnot. And some of the other books for understanding the madhab here. And then here's some of the other Hawashi. Hawashi for Fath al-Qarīb, Bayjuri, and whatnot. And that's Hashiyat al-Bayjuri and al-Birjirmi. And these are for Umdat al-Salik. And there's also Fiqh al-Manhajī, which is easy for someone to understand the fiqh. It's like muḥāṣir, and it makes fiqh al-Shāfi'i kind of close to the reader. You can read it and understand it without much of a sharh. It pretty much is self-explanatory. And sometimes to review a chapter, sometimes this can be very easy. And then here are some of the tabaqat of Shāfi'iyya. This is what I have here. This is of Subki, and then also some of the other, the tabaqat of Sughra and whatnot, and Ijtihād. So this is kind of the basic thing here. Down here I have some fatawa and whatnot of some of the things. Now also, coming over here, I would go to, here's al-Lugha. I'm gonna take this in another time. And then here's Uṣūl al-Fiqh. This is like Fiqh al-Muqārran. Here's Fiqh al-Muqārran. Up here in al-Mughni, this is of the best books that there is. And when it comes to Fiqh al-Muqārran, understanding the different madhahib and their adillah. And this is of the nicest tahqiqat of this book, or tabaat. Of course, this is an area of high debate. What is the best tabaa for al-Mughni? I'm not going to tell you what is the best tabaa. Take someone else to do that. But I do like this one because it is basically the tahqiq of, it's like the tahqiq Turki, but with all the extra work done on top of it with takhrij of the ahadith and whatnot, which is very helpful, especially in a book that's talking about a lot of ahadith, which are the basis of the arguments. So to have the takhrij right there is very important. And this is Sayl al-Jarrar, this by Imam al-Shawkani. And also this is the Ikhtilaf, and this is also by Ibn Jarir al-Tabari. And he is ultimately, he's a Shafi'i that turned mujtahid, and there's a lot of those. And so, like, you could say maybe he has, and some of the scholars will say what he says that doesn't go, that is upon the usul of Imam Shafi'i, you take it as a wedge in the Shāfiʿī Madhhab. So it's like he's of the ashab al-wujuh. And so, of course, he's a great mujtahid. All right, and then we also Bidayat al-Mujtahid, and this is also a very famous work. It's just in a single volume. Is it the best copy of it? No, I don't think so, but it's probably good enough. And there's also al-Furuq, which is a very great book for Imam al-Qurafi of the Malikiyya. And then also, here's a book, Uṣūl al-Fiqh, al-Fiqh al-Islami, which is a great, brings together most of the ijma'ats that are out there. Most of the ijma'at that are out there, he brings them together, although there's tahrir that needs to be done with it. So there's also another book out there that goes through all of these and talks about whether or not the ijma' is sahih or not, which is a whole other thing. There's al-Maratib al-Ijma' by Ibn Hazm, and then I have Muhalla by Ibn Hazm, and also it has under it as well, it has the tahqiq of Shaykh Islam ibn Taymiyyah, under like when he goes over it and talks about if the ijma' is actually sahih or not. Shaykh Islam ibn Taymiyyah, he will talk about, okay, if there's something to say about this, then he'll talk about it. And this tahqiq is it's definitely good. Of course, ijma' is one of those areas that's very important for someone to understand and to look into. And of course, the areas if there's ijma' in an area, then there's no room for debate or discussion. So now here, and this is Uṣūl al-Fiqh, that's what I was trying to go to. And so I basically put together all the Uṣūl al-Fiqh according to the years. So I went from the beginning of Uṣūl al-Fiqh, here from al-Risala, Uṣūl al-Jassās, then coming through Tafsir al-Lum'a by Imam al-Shirazi, and then al-Burhan by Imam al-Jawayni, and then also al-Waraqat would be around here, but I don't have that in here. Then al-Qawaṭi' and fi Uṣūl al-Fiqh by Abu al-Muzaffar al-Sam'ani. So this kind of a Salafi, if you want Salafi Uṣūl al-Fiqh, this is the book. And then also Mustasfa min ilm al-Uṣūl. This is the tahqiq of Dr. Sulaiman al-Ashqar, which is also, that's a great, so you can get he'll talk about some of the issues. If there's a Aqidah issue in there, he'll talk about that, and he'll point it out. And then these are some of the other major books in Uṣūl al-Fiqh. Of course, Mustasfa is of the major books, also Burhan is also of the major books of Uṣūl al-Fiqh. Someone would study, Lum'a is of the books that someone would study, like right after Sharh and Waraqat, you'd go into that. And then after Ahkam, this is for Amidi, I just got this book. And so I haven't opened it up and gone into it yet. But there's also a major book, and also Mukhtaṣar al-Minhāj. And then we also have, these are for the Minhāj al-Baydawi. Now, of course, a lot of work has been done in Minhāj al-Baydawi, and al-Ibhāj is of them, by as-Subki and his son. So both of them, they worked on this, and his son finished it off for him. And Minhāj I'm currently studying with the Shaykh, and also I'm studying some of the other versions of it, or like there's Uṣūl al-Fiqh, that is a book that's kind of a rewrite of Minhāj al-Baydawi, or the Sharh of Isnawi Ali. And so, and there's also, here's another book by Taj ad-Din as-Subki, Raf al-Hajib. This is also a new publication for Mukhtaṣar ibn Hajib, and this is also a great book where it's kind of Mukhtaṣar of his Sharh. His Sharh is here, and it's Mukhtaṣar of Uṣūl al-Fiqh, and it's also there's a lot of benefit in this book. And also then there's Jama' al-Jawami', comes around this area, and also this is the Nihayat Uṣūl. We study this in Kulliyah. And then so Jama' Jawami', this comes around this time, and then there's going to be a lot of shuruh of Jama' Jawami' that come after that. Then there's Tashdīf and Masami'. There's also Layth al-Hamid, that's not here, but it's at my other place. And then we also have Badr al-Ṭālib, which is another book that I have it in my, it's over there because it's where I study. So the books that I study currently, or that I review all the time, I put them over here so that they'd be in one place. There's Badr al-Ṭālib. And so, and then there's Bahr al-Muḥīṭ by Imām al-Zarkashi. There's also Tashdīf al-Masami', which is the bigger sharh and Jama' Jawami'. And this is also the newest publication of this by Dar al-Tayyibah al-Khadra'a. And then there's also Sharh al-Mahalli that I have over here for some of the other books here. I have a couple different shuruh for Sharh al-Mahalli. This is one that's like new. And it kind of breaks things apart in an easy way for someone to look at it from one mas'ala to the next, which is nice. But it's not necessarily going to have like a lot of ta'liqat on it. And this is the opposite. I think I showed people about this before in another thing. In the end, it has a ton of ta'liqat. And then in the middle, it just has the matan, or it has the matan after a long introduction. And then it has the sharh by itself without any ta'liqat on it. And then there's another hashiyah of waraqat here. Dimyati. Alright, so then I also have some other things which coming down here, al-Uṣūl, and this is the Mukhtaṣar of Jama' Jawami' and Badr al-Ṭālib by Shaykh Zakaria al-Ansari. And then also this is his hashiyah on Badr al-Ṭālib. And then there's the nadam of his Mukhtaṣar of Jama' Jawami'. And Ghayat al-Ma'mun. It's also another sharh on waraqat. And then this is by Imām al-Shawkani, Irshād al-Fuhūl. Haven't gotten into it yet, but it's also a well-known sharh, or it's a well-known book on Uṣūl al-Fiqh. So he wrote his own book on Uṣūl al-Fiqh, which is important. Also another sharh on Jama' Jawami'. Sometimes it's good to have multiple shuruh so you can look at different ways to pull apart these the wordings. Occasionally, sometimes things will just be the same from one place to another. It'll be like not quite copy and paste, but it'll be similar, very, very similar. But sometimes it's nice to have multiple shuruh so you can pick apart that. Then coming into here, it's books that are muʿāṣir. Muḥadhdhab, it goes over pretty much every single issue in Uṣūl al-Fiqh. This is by al-Namla. So Dr. al-Namla, he goes through every single issue, and it's kind of in a simple, easy way for someone to understand with examples. So sometimes making Uṣūl al-Fiqh easy is a good thing, and that's kind of how he does. But also, if somebody only reads this type of book, he's not going to be able to understand these. Like, he's never going to understand this. He's not going to understand these other books if he's only reading easy books, but at least he'll understand the issue for the first time, and that'll help him out, and he'll have an example for him to go off of. There's also another Sharh Waraqat by Abdullah Salih Fawzan. And this is also a good book. I studied this at the very beginning. And that, even though it's Hanbali, it's still beneficial. And this is a Sharh of Nihayat Uṣūl, and that is muʿāṣir. This book is of my shuyukh. He wrote this book, al-I'lām fi Uṣūl al-Ahkām, by Dr. Abdul Fattah al-Musailhi, or Sheikh al-Musailhi. And this is a great book for understanding Uṣūl al-Fiqh at a medium level. And I went through this, but the thing is, it's not necessarily upon any particular madhab. And this is his Mukhtaṣar that he made of it, which is also great for understanding. It's great for understanding, and some of the things that the way that he broke down things was in a very, very easy way to understand. But he's not necessarily upon a certain madhab, so because of that, I can't necessarily say as a Shafi'i that this is something you would study. But as just as a student to understand, this is not bad. And he has a lot of views of Shawkani in there, as well as Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah and whatnot. And there's also another sharh, which is recommended. My Shaykh recommends it, Shaykh Ahmed Rushi, for understanding Mahalli. So after someone studies Mahalli, they get study this sharh, and it'll have a bunch of extra benefits on top of what they already studied, with examples and whatnot, and tatbiqat for someone to work on. And then down here, also this is another sharh, which basically goes over all the issues in Uṣūl al-Fiqh and also Qawaid al-Fiqhiyya. al-Maqāsid by Sheikh Abdul Fattah al-Wasīṭ. So he has, this is like the biggest book of his. So he has the small Mukhtaṣar, then he also has this medium book for like kind of beginners or intermediate, and then he has this which is like goes over everything in more great detail. Here's also some of the other books of Ijma' here, Ibn Mundir. And then I have some of the other books here, such as al-Nadā'ir for Qawaid al-Fiqhiyya, and Idah, which is like the Idah. It goes over the Nadhm of Ashbah al-Nadā'ir, and this is a sharh of the Nadhm of Ashbah al-Nadā'ir, and then this is like the Nathir, or like bringing it into normal, not inside of a Nadhm, bringing it out. And so these are some issues for Qawaid al-Fiqhiyya according to the Shāfiʿī Madhhab, and this is also another muʿāṣir sharh of that Nadhm, and that's not necessarily Shāfi'i. And then over here we have this is some Maqāsid, and then also I'tisām, and then I have some books about bid'ah. These are of course there's a lot of jadal going around when it comes to understanding bid'ah, and these are some of the books that I have in regards to talking about bid'ah and understanding what it is and whatnot. Allah ta'ala a'lam wa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. So inshallah in the next video I'll go over some of the books of tafsir and also Aqidah.